Grandad's Prayers of the Earth by Douglas Wood, illustrated by P.J. Lynch. When I was a little, my granddad was my best friend. Being with him always made the world seem just right. Grandad and I liked to go for walks in the woods together. We didn't walk very far, or very fast, or even very straight. While we walked, I would ask him questions about things I wasn't sure of. Why is it, Grandad? I would ask. And what if? And does it ever? And one day I asked my granddad about prayers. For a long time, Grandad was quiet. He didn't say anything until we came to the tallest trees in the forest, and then he answered with a question. Do you know, boy, he whispered, that trees pray? I listened closely, but I couldn't hear them. See how they reach for the sky, he said. They reach and reach for clouds and sun and moon and stars. And what else is reaching for heaven but a prayer? I thought about the trees and kept listening for them. While I thought, I sat down on a rock, an old mossy rock. Rocks pray too, said Grandad. Pebbles and boulders and old weathered hills, they are still and silent, and those are two important ways to pray. I thought hard about rocks. I picked up a pebble and stuck it in my pocket. We walked a little farther and came to a small stream. The water splashed and sparkled, and tiny fish hovered in the shadows. Do streams pray too, Grandad? I asked. Streams pray too, and lakes and rivers and waters of all kinds. Sometimes they pray silently like the rocks, and lie still and calm, reflecting clouds or birds or sunsets, or even first evening stars. Sometimes they pray with the movement, flowing across the face of the earth, giving themselves to the ocean, giving themselves to the sky, and beginning their journey all over again. Sometimes waters pray with laughter and chuckling to their friends the rocks, and sometimes they pray by dancing, leaping and into the air and falling back again. These are all ways to pray, said Grandad, but there are more. The tall grass prays as it waves its arms beneath the sky, and flowers pray as they breathe their sweetness into the air, and the wind prays it as it whispers and moans and sighs. It's saying a prayer and singing a hymn at the same time. A bird prays when it sings the first song in the morning, and it prays in the silent moment just before it sings. And the robin's last song at sundown is an evening prayer. All the beings of the world pray, said Grandad, as they slip through the forest and sparkle in the water as they climb mountainsides or soar into the clouds and burrow into the earth. Each living thing gives its life to gives to the beauty of all life, and that gift is a prayer. And then we were quiet, my granddad and I. He was watching something far away, and I was thinking about all he had said about rocks and trees and grass and birds and flowers. And finally I asked him to tell me about the prayers of people. Grandad smiled and ruffled my hair. People pray some of the most wonderful prayers of all, he said. Bending down to smell a flower can be a prayer, said Father. Grandad, quietly watching the sunrise, feeling the slow turning of the earth, and saying hello to the new day is one of the oldest prayers. Standing in a snowy woods on a winter day and watching your breath become a part of the breath of the whole world is a way to pray. Making music or painting a picture can be a prayer. Holding hands around the table with family and friends, remembering all that holds us together and gives thanks is one of the greatest prayers. Sometimes, said Grandad, people pray when they are sad or sick or lonely or have a problem too big to carry by themselves. They may say words they have learned from their father or mother or granddads or great-grandmothers, but often they must find their own words. The important thing to remember is that the words will always be right if they are real and true and come from the heart. We had walked far enough, and Grandad said it was time to go back, but I had one last question. Are our prayers answered, Grandad? I asked. Grandad smiled. Most prayers are not really questions, he said, and if we listen very closely, a prayer is often its own answer. Like the trees and the winds and the water, we pray because we are here not to change the world, not to change ourselves, because it is when we change ourselves that the world is changed. My Granddad, and I went for many walks after that one. I often listened for the prayers of the earth, but was never sure I heard them. And then one day my Granddad was gone, and no matter how hard I prayed, he didn't come back. He couldn't come back. And I prayed and prayed and prayed until I couldn't pray anymore. And so I didn't for a long time. And the world seemed dark and lonely without Grandad in it. Until one day I went for a walk and I found a big rock under some tall trees, and I sat down on it and overheard the branches swayed and the breeze whispered in the leaves. I heard stream flowing nearby and robins singing from the honeysuckle bush. I heard something else too, something in the sound of the breezes and the birds and the water. I heard prayers. The earth was praying just like my Granddad had said. One more page, it's hard to get. So I joined in. Thank you, I prayed, for the tall trees and the sweet flowers, for still rocks and singing birds, and especially for my Granddad. And as I prayed, something changed, and my Granddad seemed somehow near. And for the first time in a long time, the world seemed just right.